Yes, so ZUMA1 is a pivotal phase 1/2 trial, and we are presenting the results from the phase 2 portion of this trial. The purpose of this trial is to look at a population of patients with refractory non-Hodgkin lymphoma who has very bad outcome with current era treatment, with median overall survival of only 6.5 months, low response rate to treatment. And we tested in our trial a novel treatment with CAR T that targets CD19. And in this trial, we demonstrated that we have 82% overall response and 54% complete response. And this is 7 times higher than the response rate seen, complete response rate seen so far in this historical population. So that's pretty impressive results. Now, we know with CAR T treatment in general, we can see toxicities, particularly generally in the first month after treatment. Cytokine release syndrome and neurologic events are 2 treatments that are unique to CAR T. And in this trial, we showed that overall, the incidence are relatively low at 13% for cytokine release syndrome, 28% for neurologic events, and they've been generally manageable and reversible. And in addition, in terms of feasibility, looking at moving this treatment into the clinical practice setting, we're able to make CAR T cells for 99% of the patients. So pretty much of the 111 patients enrolled, we were able to make product for everybody except one. And the turnaround time from collecting their blood cells to when the CAR Ts are made and shipped back to the treatment center is only 17 days. So all of these make it more likely to be feasible and hopefully something that will be very helpful for patients in this population.
It does sound like an absolute quantum leap in terms of the response you're getting, the success with getting 99% of people treatable. It's got to be something to take away from the silver lining, surely.
Well, it is a product that is personalized, so we need to make them from each individual patient. And so we are certainly very excited about the clinical activities and the general feasibility. At this time, the data are being reviewed at regulatory agencies, so we need to see how to implement this into real practice. But we're very optimistic in terms of being able to make this more accessible to patients. In particular, I think because of the toxicities that are different from what we see with a conventional chemotherapy drug or stem cell transplant, what we've seen in the trial is that for these multi-centers that participated, some of the centers are fairly new in experience with CAR T, but over the course of the trial, the centers have gained more experience, and initially in the interim analysis, we saw maybe slightly higher incidences of these side effects, but the events went down by the time we were doing the primary analysis. So the hope is that when this is ready to go into real practice, clinical practice, that this will be similarly manageable as we've seen in the trial as well.
And this was for relapsed and refractory disease?
This is for a correct non-Hodgkin lymphoma that are refractory, meaning they did not respond to second-line chemotherapy, are unable to get to stem cell transplant, or who relapsed after stem cell transplant.
Was any difference in patient response depending on previous treatments, if there had been any IMiD course, for example?
No, we looked across a number of variables that are known to impact outcome, like the type of refractory, whether they were refractory to chemotherapy or stem cell transplant, the age of the patient, where the disease was involved, extranodal involvement, and so on. And the response rate is same across all of those.
Well, then it sounds like this is going to be making headlines very soon as the approval is sorted. Are there any plans for expansion cohorts or anything to take this forwards whilst that review is ongoing?
So at this time, the data has been submitted to the regulatory agencies. We are awaiting to hear their review. We do have expanded access protocol that will be open, both in the US and Europe. until we have more clear directions moving forward into clinical practice.
Well, then that covers all of my questions. Is there anything you want to offer by way of summary, conclusion, anything to wrap this up?
We're just as excited as I hope the audience when they hear about the clinical response and the general feasibility that we've seen in this trial so far.